Hello and welcome back to Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom. Let's see if we can beat that boss that we were struggling with in the last episode. So basically, where we left off was, we have this very complicated pattern that we have to find our way through. And so it's going to take a while to kind of get back in the swing of things. But we'll just be trying to read it, and already I'm noticing that I'm much more able to read today. I'm starting out with this game as the first game that I'm playing, instead of the last. And so hopefully everything will kind of be more in my favor, and I will be more able to read the patterns, and get through it, make it to the next checkpoint. Now, this game only reads the analog stick for some reason. It doesn't read the D-pad, even though you only move at one speed, and then you have a slowdown button, which I hold almost all of the time. But it seems odd that you have this kind of... The analog stick is a little bit laggy because there's a dead zone, and so it's a little bit more difficult to do quick movements, which is a little bit frustrating, but it looks like we're actually getting pretty far this time around. There we go! So that is that checkpoint. And if we go way up to the front, whoops, of the screen like this, it auto-collects the pickups for us. So let's see, I think what we want to do, we don't actually want to follow these paths exactly. We want to squeeze between the bullets, and then follow a path, and then probably squeeze through the bullets on the way out as well. So we gotta take the brakes off to pick up those points, though we didn't manage to pick them up that time. But survival is the main goal. We're not trying to get a high score. You do get a better score the fewer attempts you make on a save. But really all we're trying to do, the only thing that's really important right now is progress. Because, the goal here is to learn and improve, get through the game, and see the story. Later on, on my own time, I'll be doing score runs and trying to get through the harder modes. But today, we're just trying to enjoy the game, and it's the right level of challenge for me. I like, having to grind stuff out, but not having to grind so hard that it takes hours to beat each save. I do enjoy doing that, but not commentating that. And so it's good to find the right balance. And it's going to be a little bit tricky to find the right balance of speed, because slow feels a bit too slow, but I find fast a little bit too fast for some of these, more steeply curved paths. Like that one. Fast is going to mash us into the right-hand wall. Slow is going to mash us into the left-hand wall. And so we might need to do fast and then tap it. These first couple of ones we can do slow, just fine. And I know that there is an aimed component of these. So we may need to kind of manipulate the patterns by our position on the screen. And I'm hitting the forward wall, not the trailing wall. So I think, we have more wiggle room than I'm giving myself. And we might actually be able to do this without... we have options. There we go. So that's another checkpoint down, and this one looks to be quite interesting. Ah! Oh my goodness, this is a really interesting pattern. So my guess is that this wall is basically impenetrable, and we have to wait for these shots to clear a path, and then we have these things coming from behind us that we're going to have to worry about. So, that's one of the things that really distinguishes Touhou in particular, is that you have bullets coming from every part of the screen. And that makes it pretty tricky to read sometimes. And so, I would like to continue this episode for a bit longer, but this could end up being where it ends just because this looks like a pattern that could take me a while. There's that aimed component I was talking about. Those, you can see the bullets are coming through in slightly different positions depending on where I am on the screen. So we don't want to stay too far forward because we have to wait, back here about for those bullets to clear the way for us. But we don't want to be too far back because we don't want to, we want to be able to move around freely. We don't want to get walled. Oh my goodness. I do not know how I survived that. The bullets seem like they're getting more dense with each wave. And they're denser when they hit the walls and explode like that, and then they kind of move apart from each other. So we don't want to be too close to the walls for that reason. We want to give ourselves lots of room to navigate. And I think this pattern, oh dear, this pattern's going to take a lot of concentration. I would like to get to some story, but this boss is quite long and it might take us a couple of episodes to complete this boss. And, one of the things that I always like to focus on is the story of the player, because I think that where games kind of have the most potential for storytelling. I mean, games have a lot of potential for storytelling in a lot of different ways, but I think that the kind of the place where they are most unique is in their ability to create the story of the player's struggle and the player's development and the player's adventures. Even in a game where you're not struggling, where you're not trying to grow, the game can still have, a sense of adventure. A lot of games that are not too difficult still create a sense of danger. And that can be, really enjoyable even when it's not real. But here, there's a clear sense of danger. Here, there's some sense of that because, we have these checkpoints. And so even though, it feels like we're being threatened by all of this, we're not actually at risk of losing very much. And so, we can put a lot of value on the little bit of progress that we stand to lose, but there's really not that much that we're at risk of losing. And so most of the danger that we're going to feel, especially compared to kind of what the sense of danger actually evolved for, is, we're not in that much danger. We're basically in no danger of our person. But it creates that sense of adventure. And, that's something I talk about in games, of that idea of, I call it augmented imagination. That sense that, you're not really doing something dangerous, but it kind of, it acts as an aid to the imagination to do something that you might otherwise just imagine inside of your head. And I don't think it replaces that. I don't think that it's strictly better than that. I think it's different. And I think it can create kind of a more strong sense of immersion sometimes. And so, while it has its limitations, I find the whole aspect of augmented imagination a really enjoyable part of video games. Now, I'm wondering if we can get these to burst far enough apart or in kind of in different enough places that we can create easier kind of... Yeah, if we hit one against the wall, what we do is we make them burst at different times. And so we create a little bit of an easier path for ourselves. The danger, of course, is that we're still going to be... Well, one is that to do that, we may have to take our weapon, kind of our shot off of the boss. Now, this boss has a timer, so that might not actually matter. I don't really know. You know, maybe we should do it like this. The other problem that we are going to run into is just that we're going to have to push ourselves onto parts of the screen where we might not be able to react to those explosions. Because they're very dense when they actually hit the wall, and so if we're too close to the wall, we're going to have a much more difficult time getting through them, and that might counteract the kind of the easier time that we get by separating them. And like there, we hit very close to it, but we basically had to go away from it. Now that was very tight, but we managed to get an opening. I don't know if these are random, but there's a really good chance of us getting walled because of the kind of the chaotic pattern and the fact that it's a little bit different each time because of the aimed component. So here it looks like we have another spiral pattern. So it seems like it's alternating between these slightly easier spiral patterns and these more difficult, more kind of chaotic patterns. So let's see if we can get through this one. This is turning out to be a very long boss. But I am... You know, this might actually be... I'm looking at the timer, and I think this might actually be the phase that we ended on. Because this is about how long I usually like the episodes to go. And it's kind of surprising how many bosses, or how many phases this boss has. How many bosses this phase has. I always enjoy those little twists of words that happen, slips of the tongue. It was one of the things that I really enjoyed about watching Northern Lion, who was one of my early inspirations. And kind of one of the people that I looked to when I was first developing my style. And, you know, one of my first goals in Let's Playing was to become the Northern Lion of a game. And I think I've succeeded at that. I am, you know, I'm not anywhere near as popular as he is, but I feel like I have, you know, one game that I am pretty prominent in, and that I've been playing for a very long time. And that was kind of what I meant, because he is most famous for the Binding of Isaac. He's the most visible Binding of Isaac player, and he has thousands of episodes. And I'm very far from having thousands of episodes, but that's, you know, I'm well on the way. And I have yet to run out of things to do in Hyper Rogue. And, you know, sometimes, like him, I play other stuff like this that is just, that I really enjoy. So yeah, we're coming up on 15 minutes. I think we're going to wrap it up here. In the next episode, we will continue to chip away at this boss. And I don't know how many phases it has. I don't know how long it's going to take us. But I think when we come back, we should be able to deal with this spiral phase relatively quickly, and then we'll see what's after that. So until then, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.